Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Perspectives Podcast. My name is Richard Brether Bell. I am the president and CEO and founder of the Black Pride Network, also known as BPN, and BPN as the facilitator of the Perspectives Podcast. I am so excited to talk to our next guest. This is someone I have so much respect and admiration for. I like a person who speaks their mind, someone who stands up for themselves and stands up for others. We live in a society where it's so easy to attack. And if you're in any kind of leadership role, if you're anyone with a strong opinion, there are going to be those who come after you. So I have so much respect for people who recognize that they have a right to have their own say and stand up for themselves. And that is certainly the case of our next guest, Jordan Braxton. Jordan, tell the people about who you are, what you
Um,
represent.
Good morning and thank you very much. My name is Jordan Braxton. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I stand up for a social injustice because I believe that everyone has a voice, everyone has a story, and everyone's voice should be heard. I am vice president of um, I can't talk today. I'm vice president of Black Pride St. Louis, and I'm also on the board of Pride St. Louis, where I'm the director of diversity and inclusion and outreach. So I'm an educator by nature. I love to talk about um, the entire LGBTQIA community, and I'm just going to umbrella that with the term queer community. When I say queer community, I just want to make sure everyone understands I'm not leaving anyone out. That's just a term I use sometimes because sometimes people, if you keep saying LGBTQIA, they don't quite understand what the IA is for. And so if you say queer community, then they understand that. So I believe that people in the queer community, we have a right. We have rights just like everyone else that's granted under the Constitution of the United States. So that's what I stand up for. I stand up for people's rights because there are a lot of people right now who are afraid to speak their mind because of the rhetoric that's out there and because of the backlash they might receive. But I have been out since I came out the womb, child, so it's okay. And so I'm also I've been in this fight against HIV and AIDS since 1985. I raised money with six other queens to start a nonprofit here in St. Louis called St. Louis Effort for AIDS, because at the time in 1985, no one was even talking about HIV and AIDS. It wasn't even uttered. The president, who was President Reagan at the time, never said a word about it. And actually, it took the death of Rock Hudson before anyone actually noticed it. So Rock Hudson kind of was the face of HIV and AIDS. But during those times between when we started dying left and right, you could literally dance with somebody on Saturday and carry them to the grave the next Saturday. That's how bad it was affecting people. So we needed to do something. I was a member of ACT UP, and ACT UP was, we acted up.
Act it up.
We acted up because people weren't listening. They weren't listening. So I was a member of ACT UP. We acted up here in St. Louis. Finally, when funding started coming, we opened up, like I said, St. Louis Effort for AIDS. I'm also work. My day job is that I work for Vivint Health, and I go out and do education and outreach for the prevention of the spread of HIV and STIs. So basically, my job is to talk about sex all day. I want you to take care of your sexual health because people don't realize that your sexual health is just as important as your regular health. And if you get an untreated STI, which is a sexually transmitted infection, um, it can like affect your neurological system, your reproductive system, and people don't understand that. And I specialize in the minority communities, such as the Latino and the Black communities, because we have a lot of health disparities there. So we're trying to teach people to take care of that. And then if I go out and I test people and you come back reactive or positive for either HIV or STI, my job is to get you into care and make sure you make at least your first appointment. So that's what I do in a nutshell. And then I also, volunteer for both prides, and because I believe in and everyone getting to celebrate. I don't care. Here in St. Louis, we have 7 different prides. I don't care which pride you celebrate, just as long as you celebrate. And we get to show how beautiful and unique our community is. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that's awesome. I think many of us would agree that you are definitely doing God's work. There have always been those in our society who was left behind,
Mhm.
oppressed, marginalized, and anyone who's doing work to make sure that those people reach equity, then yeah, I consider that God's work. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I just do it. People ask me all the time, why do you do this? I do it because I see friends who are suffering. I see people in my community who are suffering, who are scared, who don't want to leave their house because they don't think they're going to come back home. And
Mm,
statistics show that Black trans women are disproportionately affected when it comes to violence and death.
absolutely. And that's going to bring us to my next question. What are some of the challenges as well as the rewards that the trans community of color is dealing with?
First, the challenge is just being accepted as women. Recent, I don't know, I forget what the comic's name was. Well, she punched down on Black trans women. Black women and Black trans women, we need to unite because we are already marginalized as women, period. Especially Black women. Black women don't get the same respect that their white counterparts do, or even their Latino counterparts. We are looked at as second class citizens. So when she got on there talking about how we're fake and how we're not real women and how we're just men because we don't have periods and all this stuff, that's really kind of shameful and degrading to women because of reproductive problems that can't have periods and can't have children. And it takes more than a vagina to be a woman. People don't understand that. It takes more than a vagina to be a woman. There's a whole bunch of other things involved. And it's back to basic biology. People remember back when we took biology class. Well, some of us probably didn't take biology, but I did. We understand that being a woman is complicated. So that's the challenges is just being accepted by our own Black sisters. Like
Mm,
I do presentations and not when I come across the word or I present the word cisgender, there are some women in the audience who get upset because they think cisgender is a new term. No, cisgender is not a new term. It's been around since 1914 and was introduced by a woman. I say, yes, I'm a trans woman. Yes, I've had my body altered. I had gender affirming care, so I now have a vagina, but I don't think I'm any better or any less than you. We are women. Why can't we stand in solidarity and I will fight for your reproductive rights? And if you can counteroffer and help me fight for my rights, then we're all women fighting together for our betterment and our empowerment. So that's the challenge. Another challenge is just existing.
mm,
Just existing. Like I said before, there are trans people who are scared to leave their homes because of the laws that are out there, because of the rhetoric that are out there. When you hear on the news that we are filth, we are demons, we need to be eradicated and eliminated. And if someone gets elected president, they're going to eradicate transgenderism. When we are reduced to terms like transgenderism or the transgenders, that makes you feel that is dehumanizing because we're not thought of as people, even though at the end of all my speeches, I always end with you have to remember that trans people are human beings. We are still human beings, and we still get all the rights that are protected under the United States Constitution. So when Thomas Jefferson wrote the preamble and it says life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, it doesn't say in parentheses except for trans people or Black trans women. So we get to have all the same rights that everybody has. So, and then also with all this rhetoric and stuff, it puts targets on our backs because people think they can harm us and do anything to us without any repercussions, which we've seen with how many Black and Latino trans women are killed and no one is ever brought to justice. And they're mostly killed by boyfriends, loved ones, people in the family, but no one is ever brought to justice.
mm,
We can hear about how Black trans women have been shot, how they've been burned, but nothing ever happens to their perpetrators. And we need to stop that. We need to empower each other to speak up and stand in solidarity and fight for one another. And that's why I, again, do what I do. So those are some of the challenges that we face. And then also, I could also get into the health disparities. Like um, we don't go to the doctor because we don't think providers are educated enough to, they ask us more questions about our genitalia than what's wrong with us.
Mm.
I have gone in, I went to a clinic here before I was insured. I went to a clinic and spent 30 minutes explaining to the nurse about why my names were different, why my name on my driver's list was not the name that was on the same piece of paper. And I was there just to get a hepatitis A shot so I could work at a restaurant. And I spent literally 30 minutes explaining myself to the nurse. And then at the end, she was like, "Oh, thank you for talking to me about it. I never heard of anything as being intersex or why people transition." And then I had to tell her, "Pam, can I please get my shot?" She was about to end the session and she didn't even give me my shot yet. So those are things that trans people, we don't go to the doctor because we have to end up spending most of the time explaining ourselves, and I still have to give you $125 when I educated you. So those health disparities, there's economic disparities, there's housing issues, there's just a whole spectrum of issues and challenges we face. But one of the rewards I tell people is I love being transgender. Being trans is the best thing I've ever done in my life. Living my true, authentic self, getting my gender affirming surgery was the best thing I have done. I say getting my vagina made me a superhero. Because I have trans joy. We never talk about trans joy enough.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about dysphoria. I have euphoria. I love when I walk out my door, I walk with my head held high because I'm proud to be a Black transgender woman in St. Louis, Missouri. And I go to work every day and I go to spaces that normally some trans people don't go to. I go to sporting events. I go to symphonies. I go places because I believe visibility is good.
Mm-hmm.
If people see us and talk to us, they'll see we're just like everybody else. So yeah, I love being trans. I shout it from the highest building. Yes, being trans is wonderful.
You mentioned several things that should be on the t-shirt. The vagina doesn't make you a woman. I love that. I don't have dysphoria. I have euphoria. I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, we should see those on t-shirts and pride parades. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm. And that's the one thing that we don't talk about the joy of being transgender enough.
right. I
Because
agree.
we hear so much about how trans is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear that
Mhm.
caveman mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we need to hear more about that, more focus on that for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so with everything that's going on, like with the political attacks that we see um, in the news, let me ask you this: Why? Why do we seem to, particularly with conservatives, is the trans community under attack? Why does the trans community seem to be a favorite target of conservatives?
Because they have nothing to run on. They
Hmm.
have no economic plan. They have no health plan. They have no plan how to move this country forward. So they all, I'm trying to word this correctly or politically correct.
Oh,
Well,
girl,
hell,
don't
I'm
worry
just gonna
about
say it.
political correctness with us.
I'm just gonna say it.
That
I'm
shit been
pro-
said on.
okay. I'm just. It's old white men trying to take us back. When they
Hmm.
say "Make America Great Again," they want to take it back to the 40s and 50s when white men ruled.
Hmm.
Regardless of, you see, they're stripping away women's rights. They're trying to strip away gay rights. They want to take it back to the 1950s when white men ruled the world
Hmm.
because they think they are losing their identity and who they are, and they're losing their power. So the only way they can get power back is to start with, I'm just going to call us the low hanging fruit. Because if we turn the tables on transgender people and we make them the demons and the devils, we can eliminate them first, and then we can work our way up to other people. And I tell all my cisgender gay male friends, if they're doing it to us, they would do it to you. And they're like, oh, they'll never get rid of marriage equality. I'm like, did y'all not listen to what Clarence Thomas said? There are certain things when Republicans and conservatives make speeches, you have to listen very carefully, because in those speeches are dog whistles. And those dog whistles tell other people what to do. And you have to, and if you don't believe what's about to happen, read Project 2025. It'll let you know what their plan is. And listen to what they're saying. When they say, I'm going to eliminate transgenderism, they mean that. That's just not verbal diarrhea. They mean that. And I don't know about you, I'm not going anywhere. I tell my people, I live in Missouri, which is probably one of the worst conservative states. And I go to Jefferson City and I testify against all the anti-drag bills and the anti-trans bills. Because I tell them, I'm a lifelong Missourian. I was born in Kansas City, went to college in Springfield, and now live in St. Louis. I'm not going anywhere. So y'all have to get used to seeing me all the time. You know, I love Missouri. I just don't like it very much right now because we have the wrong people in power. But I think what we need is more trans people in politics. But so when they say, oh, they're cutting penises off babies, we can say, no, they're not.
Right.
That has never happened in the state of Missouri. But yet they think it happens. I hate when you see all the political campaigns and they're talking about men and girls sports. Why can't you say men and women's sports? Why do it have to be men and girls sports? It's the visual things it's the verbiage they use to make visual things happen in your mind. No. So in Missouri, there were only 4 trans student athletes. And we had all this brouhaha over trans athletes when there was 4 people. I tell folks all the time, y'all worried about bathrooms. When you come to my house, we all go to the same bathroom. Right? Right. When we were little kids and you playing in the yard, we all play together. We all double dutched, did a hopscotch, played flag football, played kickball. We did it all together. All the kids in the neighborhood got together. You know, you went swinging, you did bike ride, you did on the little teeter-totter things. No one cared. It's always the adults that put that in children's minds. Because when we did kids, we just played all the time. And you know, you took baths with your brothers and sisters too if you had a whole bunch of members in your family. You know? So it wasn't, I had female cousins that I slept in the bed with before I transitioned. You know, so I'm like, what is the big deal? We spent half our lives intermingled with each other. So I don't understand why people are so upset about bathrooms and sports when we've all our lives played together. When you go to a family reunion, you all just line up and play flag football or badminton or whatever. You don't say, oh, the boys against the girls. You don't do that. We all play together. So I just think these political attacks are, they need to be educated. They don't understand. And they're scared that minorities are taking over the world from them. And they're going to lose their power because they believe in white supremacy and white power.
Absolutely. So, Jordan, what can the queer community, particularly queer organizations, do to be more supportive of our trans community?
Just when I invite you somewhere, go with me. When I invite you to a rally or a march, come with me. If you see a trans person being attacked, or you see them being bullied, or you see people talking about them, speak up and say something. Don't just turn the other way. Because, and I say this all the time, when you needed us, we were there for you. During the AIDS crisis, we were there. We took you into our homes when your family, churches, and doctors were just going to leave you in the streets to die. You know, if you were in a car accident and they found out that you were gay or queer, they would just leave you in the street because they thought, oh my God, that person might have AIDS. Or they called it the AIDS at the time. And they just left you there. So drag queens and especially trans women, opened up our homes and took you in. When you wanted marriage equality, I know I did so many benefits to raise money for people to afford the buses to go to Washington, D.C. for the March on Marriage Equality. So we've been there. I marched and fought Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So whenever you needed us, we've been there, standing shoulder to shoulder, toe to toe, fighting because we fought as a community. But now that you think you're equal to everyone, because I'm on the TikTok and I see the white gay man on there talking about, oh, why can't the trans people just shut up because we're all equal? And I think, no, queer, you think you're equal, but I'm not. I'm still getting bullied and targeted and killed for just being me. But if gay white men think they're equal, they they have another thing coming, as my grandmother would say, because they're going to come after them soon. So what we need, we just need the queer community to stand with us and come with us and fight with us and be able to speak up for us. Because again, like I said, when you needed us, we were there. I want my queer allies to say, you know, girl, what can I do? I know y'all having a march and a rally. What can we do to support you? Trans Day of Visibility is coming up on March 31st. Unfortunately, it's the same day as Easter Sunday. So everybody go and get your little Easter worship on and then come and support any kind of trans marches that are out there. Because the Day of Visibility is a day we're all going to be out there either in the streets or having events to show that we're not going anywhere. We're here and we're just going to, y'all just have to get used to it. So yeah, that just, my message to the queer community is just come out and support us and listen. And if you, and we need to support you with your dollars too. Let me put that out there. Because, you know, there's trans organizations out there that, because of political BS, can't get some of the government funding that's out there because, you know, you have to have X amount, can't be more % of your budget. And some grassroots trans organizations that are doing really good work, who are actually doing the work, can't get the funding they need because their budgets aren't big enough. So we just need those donations. And by donations, I don't mean just money, I mean time. Go and volunteer at a trans organization. You know, show your allyship. And one important thing I want to point out is that you just can't anoint yourself an ally. You know, allyship is a journey. It takes hard work. It takes hard work being an ally, because when things get tough, you have the privilege of just quitting. I don't have the privilege of just getting quit. You know, if we're at a rally and someone says, look at that black tranny out there looking like that's just a man, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can walk away from that. I can't walk away from that. I cannot. I tell people I am past the point of no return. I couldn't detransition if I wanted to. So, you know, people have to understand that being an ally takes work. It takes accountability. You know, people just wake up. I'm an ally to the queer community. Okay, what have you done? That's what I ask folks sometimes. What have you done? Like Janet Jackson says, what have you done for me lately? What have you done? Because there's so many people out there ready to wave the ally flag, but really haven't done anything. And right now, we need allies in the trans community from within our own community. I had to get something on Facebook the other day because someone called a trans person an it. And it was a black lesbian in our community called someone an it. And I just say, no, 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 no. You may not like this person, but you can't call this person an it, especially when it comes from within our community.
Right.
You know, and I don't like Caitlyn Jenner. I don't agree with what she stands for, but I will never dead name her or misgender her. Because she's still a trans person, whether I like it or not. Because I wouldn't want somebody that hates me do me like that too.
Right.
Same thing with Leah Thompson, the swimmer that everyone's on. You know, and that other swimmer, I guess her name is Riley Gaines or something. She's making money off hurting trans people. She's going around touring, making money and getting paid on putting down trans people. She came to St. Louis and we rallied against her because you're not bringing that hate into my state. You know, because that's what we need. We need our allies to come. We need the queer community to stand behind us. Your silence is deadly. Your silence says volumes to me. It means, oh, so the next time you gay boys need something, I'm just going to sit here and go, you know what? I'm not doing a benefit for y'all. Because when I needed y'all to come to Jeff City, or I need y'all to come to Raleigh, y'all didn't show up. So I'm not showing up for you.
Absolutely. And so, um, with the different challenges that the trans community is facing, you mentioned some of those. Um, Misgendering, people having issues with the word cisgender, which is
Mhm.
basically a scientific terminology. I don't know why that's so upsetting to people. Who said I was cisgender? Well, who said you were male? I mean, relax, you know. Um,
Right.
with all the terminology that confuses people, which, some people are just genuinely confused. And then, of course, there's also the willful ignorance. But give us like a lesson on Trans 101 to help people to better understand the genuine people who like, they don't want to misgender people. They want to say the right words.
Mhm.
Give us a lesson and help these folks out.
Okay, so first of all, let's just call transgender people. Instead, we don't say M to F or F to M anymore. We say I'm a trans woman or a trans man or I'm trans masculine or trans feminine. And then also transgender people are on a spectrum. We
Mhm.
have trans non-binary people. You know, yes, I chose my transition was binary, which means I went from presenting as a male all the way to presenting as a female and having bottom surgery so that I can authentically live as a female. But there's some trans people who don't want that surgery, and that's okay. Every trans experience and trans journey is different. There's not one way to be trans. There's not. There's not one way to be trans non-binary or trans unspecified. When people say I'm trans, okay, you're trans. It's on a spectrum, just like gender's on a spectrum.
Mhm.
So, just don't say, well, girl, you're not passing, so you can't be trans. That passing is now an unaccepted term, which I just learned to accept recently because I used to tell the young girls, God, I sound like someone's grandma, the young kids. I tell the young trans girls, when I talk about passing, it comes from a place of security. It doesn't come from a place of, I think I'm better than you. Because back in the day, if you didn't pass as a trans woman, you couldn't hang out with the other trans girls because when they went out in public, didn't want to get clocked.
Mhm.
And clocked means they didn't want to get abused or bullied or beat up or sneered at or finger pointed or put out of business for being trans. So that's where my passing comes from, you know? And
Mhm.
I tell the girls all the time that I accept the privilege that I have. And that's why I go out and speak. But it's just getting back to the question, it's just learn terminology. That's where you start from. Learn the basic terminology of the trans community. Um, Transgender 101 means, technically, the term transgender means I don't associate with the sex I was signed at birth. I was signed male at birth, went through a transition, changed um, all my gender markers on my documents to female. So therefore, I am transgender. That's what that means. Again, like I said, trans is on a spectrum. Learn what dead naming means. If I and a dead name is another name that I have chosen to call myself than other what's on my birth certificate.
Mhm.
You know, on my birth certificate, it can say Maurice, but I want to call myself Maureen. So if you know me and you say, "Hey, what's up, Maurice?" I'm looking like Maureen, and I tell you my name is Maureen. That's dead naming me,
Mhm. Mhm.
And then also respect a person's pronouns. If I tell you my pronouns are now she, her, don't call me him, you know. And if I tell you my name, you used to say preferred name, but if I tell you my name and my pronouns and you don't respect those or use those, that is a sign of oppression.
Mhm.
And people don't understand that. You are oppressing me. You have the privilege of respecting me. It's oppression and disrespect. And so people need to learn if a trans person or a gender non-binary person tells you their pronouns are she, her, or they, them, and don't argue with a non with a gender non-binary gender. Well, I don't understand they, them. It's not your place to understand. If you don't understand, go learn it yourself.
Mhm.
So it's just also a point of respect. You know, it's learning what transgender is, learning what pronouns are and how to respect them, and learning not to dead name people. We go through life enough of having those three things happen to us without friends and family and loved ones doing it themselves. And I know there's, especially in a Black family, whew, they want to still call you by your name. I know what your name is, but this is the name mom and daddy called you, and I'm gonna call you that. No, uh-uh, no. I tell my family, just call me by my family nickname. They're like, okay, we can do that. You know,
Mhm.
but just be respectful. It all comes down this whole idea of what people can do to be supportive of the trans community. Just be respectful. That's what it all boils down to. I don't treat you any different because you're Republican. If you're Black conservative, I don't understand that. But I'm not going to call you out your name and tell you disgusting or you're a piece of filth. I'm going to still treat you as a human being. I don't agree with you, but I'm still going to treat you as a human being. I'm not going to tell everyone that you're a second class citizen. And again, we just got to listen. We got to listen to what people say and be respectful. That's if you don't take anything away from this podcast that I've talked about, treat trans people with respect
Mhm.
because we get shit on enough from the rest of the community. Just I don't treat you any different than I treat anybody else, and I want to be treated the same way. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I know I have a lot of. I've spent too many times with my grandparents getting those old colloquialisms. No.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, look, we need to have you back. There's so many things we need to discuss. You brought to mind a few things that that that's been weighing on my mind. And one of them is, yeah, definitely the relationship between um cisgender Black women and trans Black women. We need to have a discussion with that, about that. A lot of people don't even know about what's going on. I sit in a chair, get my hair done by a cisgender Black woman. And when she gets started on trans people, I'm asking, yeah, you keep saying this bothers you, you don't like this, but how does this personally affect you, what someone else is doing with their life? I'm trying to understand that. And telling, because what I say, if you're not adversely affecting me and you're not preventing me from getting to what I need, getting from what I need to get, what do I care about how you're living your life?
Right.
You know, it's more
That's what I
about,
said to politicians.
yeah.
What am I doing? Well, I go to Jeff City, I sit there because most of the committees are Republicans that we have to
Hmm.
talk in front of. We have a few Democratic representatives or senators, and I sit there and I say, how does my life affect you? How
Exactly.
does it? What am I doing to you, or what am I doing to my body
Yeah,
that that affects you, that affects your life?
exactly.
Nothing. Nothing. So
I
why are
don't
you
get it.
trying to pass a bill that says no one, regardless of age, in the state of Missouri can get gender affirming care? And I'd
Right.
be like, so you're going to tell me I can't get gender affirming care and I'm 63 years old?
Mm. Damn, Jordan, you 63. Girl, you look
Yeah,
good.
thank you. I owe it to my parents. Good DNA. Yeah, I'm 63. Mhm.
Good.
Thank you.
Um, I agree. I mean, there's so many things that we should be concerned about. And, like the number one killer of children is gun violence. Or gunfire. Why aren't we
Mhm.
talking about that? Why aren't we talking about we're talking about people coming in from different borders. Why don't we talk about how many people come in from different countries and stay past their visa and still are still here and then they are
Right,
here illegally? We don't talk
right,
about these things, but you want to tell me, dredge up some fantasy of what's happening with babies who are born every day when you're not a doctor, you're not even a
right.
nurse. You're not even in the room. How do you know what's going on? You know?
Exactly. And I tell them all the time, you want to sit here and pass legislation, and you don't even listen to what the seven medical agencies are telling you. You think you know better than the
Mm,
doctors.
right.
What do you know that do you have a medical degree? Because if you
Exactly.
did, your ass would be sitting up here looking at me testify against these
Hmm.
bills. You wouldn't be a politician. You'd be a pediatrician.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I think they got their P's mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, You're not a pediatrician. You're a politician. Stick to making. We have so much more in this country to talk
Yeah.
about, like you mentioned, gun violence. How we need to get together and have conversations with Black trans women and Black women, Black cis
Mhm.
women. Why do y'all punch down on us all the time? Why are you all always putting us down? Whenever someone says something that you don't like, all of a sudden it's these Black men are pretending to be women.
Right.
Why do politicians say we we have to use the men's room because there are men pretending to be women coming into the women's bathroom?
Right.
And I say, has there ever been one trans person that committed a sexual assault on anyone in the bathroom?
Right.
No. It's been mostly what? Cis white men.
Cisgender. Yeah.
Yes, white
Absolutely.
men.
It's
Or
true.
the clergy.
Yeah.
Let's just call it out. The
Yeah.
clergy. So there's not been one trans person that's committed a sexual assault in the bathroom. Most of the time, y'all don't even know y'all have gone to the bathroom with a trans person.
True.
Richard, let me tell you, every time I go to the bathroom, women will talk to me. Oh, you are pretty, or I like your hair. They're asking me, well, I'm trying to wash my hands, or talking to me. I've never had a problem. Sometimes they don't even know,
Right.
So I'm like, y'all really don't know. Y'all been going to the bathroom with trans people for years.
Yeah.
Yes. And
It's true.
then I tell people these bathroom bills will hurt just cisgender people as well.
Hmm.
We've seen the videos on TikTok and Facebook and about how butch lesbians, I hope they don't get offended because I said butch lesbians, how butch lesbians and studs and stems are going in the bathroom and they're getting attacked because they think they're men and they're calling the police on them, or their husbands are coming in and beating them up. And they're like, no, I am a lesbian, just because they think, and then, oh, I forgot, there has been a Black cisgender woman that was killed because the man thought she was transgender and
Wow.
she wasn't. But that wasn't on the news, was it?
No, I never heard of
No.
this.
Yes. Uh-huh. I have to tell you her name. But yes, it was a Black woman, a Black cisgender woman. A man killed her because he assumed and thought she was transgender. A Black transgender woman. So see, that's one of the problems that Black trans women have. People can kill us just because they don't like us, because of what's being said out there.
Hmm. And you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something that can affect everybody. I know. I mean, I don't identify as a trans person. I'm cisgender. I work out. I have muscles, but I also put on high heel boots. I have long hair. I was
Baby,
in a
I've seen you dressed up. I'd be like, yes, you better wear that suit and them heels, girl. Go on.
Exactly. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I want to dress however I want to express myself. And sometimes it blurs the line when it comes to just traditional gender, identifying dress. But yeah, I've gone in the bathroom and have men do a double take, like, wait, are you in the right bathroom? And
Mhm.
I was leaving a restaurant. I think Brian was with me at the time. As I'm walking by, I heard the man say, is that a man or a woman? And what bothered me is not that you couldn't tell whether it was a man or woman. It was that. Is that as
Mhm.
dehumanizing?
Yes.
I'm fine. You could even ask me, excuse me, may I ask, what's your gender identity or something like
Mhm.
that? And I would have been fine with that. But to say, especially in earshot, that dehumanizing part is what bugged me. Not that you couldn't tell whether I was male or female. That is not
Mhm.
insulting to me. But dehumanizing me is insulting.
Mhm.
So, like you said, it's not something that's going to be limited to, um, the trans community. It's going to be something that spreads to everyone, and that's how oppression works. It may start with one group. It's certainly going to fan
Mhm.
out to other people. So, absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
And just imagine that we hear that all the time.
yeah,
All the time.
exactly.
Every time you go somewhere, is that it? I remember one time I was catching the Metro, our public bus here, and somebody like, "Oh, you one of them he she's," and I said, "Why are you disrespecting me like that? I just said good morning to you. That's all I said. I respected you, and why can't you respect me?" And he went, "Damn, you're right. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Why are you gonna call me a he she when all I said was good morning to you?" It's things like that. And we had an incident where a trans woman was beaten on our bus here, and the man at first he was flirting with her.
Mm.
And this happens a lot too. This is another podcast we can talk about, is that how cisgender straight men will flirt with trans girls, and then when they find out they're transgender, they get upset.
Mm.
And this person was flirting with her on the bus, got upset, attacked her on the bus, pulled a gun on her, put it to her head, and said, "You freak bitch, I should blow your brains out." That happened in April. The FBI started putting it on television, asking as had they seen this person in December.
Ugh.
And I was like, first of all, everybody's like, "Oh, this is that's so horrible that happened to us." I said, hey, let's back that up. If this happened in April, why is it December, 9 months later, as the FBI just now putting video out asking if anybody knew this person? So that means you didn't value that trans person's life right then and there.
Exactly.
Because if it had been anyone else, that shit would have been out a long time ago.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing. We have to value trans lives. Yeah, we don't, but I don't think right now trans lives are valued. So,
Well, that seems like a great place to end
yes.
with us today. Value trans lives.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy, but thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. It has certainly have been an education. Sitting on top of human rights organizations, as a vice president, as a co-chair, you think you know some things, but
Mhm.
then you hear certain things that you hadn't thought about, things that maybe you didn't take into consideration. You realize there's so much you don't know. So thank you for being the educator that we all need, and we certainly want to have you back to educate us some more. And before we go, tell us all when is your Pride? Maybe
Our
we
pride.
maybe we're
Okay.
going to come see you
Oh, which one do you want? Okay, Black Pride is the third weekend in August,
in
which is
August.
I think the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So it's the third weekend in August. That is St. Louis Black Pride.
Okay.
St. Louis Pride is June 29th and 30th.
Okay.
So yes, come on out. It's going to be a great time. So
Yeah.
thank you, Richard, for
We,
asking me. I'm honored that you asked me. And anytime, because child, I could talk all day about trans rights. And I could solve the world's problems right here. But thank you very much. I appreciate you.
absolutely. Well, that's what we need to do. Let's solve the world's problem. They ain't doing it. We may as well do it.
Right. We need more queer people in power because we get that shit right together.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, Jordan, have a good weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.